So welcome back to the channel, welcome back to the garage, welcome back to our UCC video series. Like I said in the previous video, Drag Race Day, this is the Dyno Day video, which I know probably there are a lot of questions for you guys. Like what exactly happened? Why did we push the truck off the dyno? Which I know part of it is that we didn't have reverse, like I said in the previous video. But anyhow, start off Dyno Day. We got done Drag Race Day. We got the compounds mounted up. We changed our nitrous up. We got ready for the day, loaded up our dyno tune file, and we thought we were pretty well ready. We had a couple wiring things to do. I needed a lockup switch, which isn't really a big deal to install, stuff like that. So we drew 7th on the dyno for Dyno Day, which is a good spot. With our problems we had on the drag strip, I wanted to focus on the UCC stuff and not try and run Pro Street. We really haven't gotten back down to a Pro Street level run. And just, you know what, let's just do UCC and forget that. We already missed the first race of this shortened ODSS season. Really kind of throws us out of the points run. So, you know what, let's just do the Dyno Day, have a good time and all that. Well, we had some issues again this year. Part of it was same thing I had last year. Too long a fitting into our new Lightning 375. It was pushing the seat down. Easy to resolve because we knew what the issue was, so we ground it down. But also Mr. Kenny Bruner, Capital Diesel Performance on the Instagram. Kenny was popping in and out all weekend. But Kenny, being the great guy he is, he jumped right in and helped us out. So we mounted our compounds up the night before, and we must have been a bit tired because we started the truck up, started warming up, and Kenny goes, dude, you got an exhaust leak. So our exhaust pipe coming out of our GT55 was not mated to our the back of the exhaust housing correctly. It had a gap. There is a piece of like flat steel that I have welding into the exhaust housing to keep the exhaust pipe when we run a single turbo from turning down like we had happen at Hardway Performance. Well, I had kind of tried to clean that up and modify it a little before I got our exhaust housing coated. Well, in doing that, our compound setup didn't fit as well as it should have. So I mounted the compounds up here at the house and I never noticed a problem, but Kenny saw it and I was kind of starting to lose it a little because it was getting close to being our time. You know, they're announcing, hey, Turbo Tom, you should be looking, you know, that kind of thing, or you're on deck. And that with our nitrous leak, you know, it's mistakes that I made that I shouldn't have. I should have learned from last year. Anyhow, Kenny and the guys, they just said, you go over there, we'll take care of it, you know. And they did. They took care of the problem. They got the exhaust mounted up right. They got a lockup switch in it for us. Just took care of me, and I was able to kind of focus on the dyno. So anyhow, we got up to the dyno, and it was going to be the same thing as last year, run through the gears and lock the transmission up. We're going to hit our spool, hit our big jet, and I definitely felt a lot more comfortable than I did last year up there in the seat. You know, we had our trials in the beginning. Wasn't as bad as it was last year, so I felt a lot better. That, and we didn't have an anteater to worry about not shifting. We had our Suncoast shifter, so I just had to go 1, 2, 3, 4, hit the lockup switch, and just listen to Cody up on the dyno. So that's what we did. We weren't going full fuel. We had a little bit more of a conservative dyno setup in it. I thought I heard somebody coming down the driveway. Anyhow, so we had a little bit of conservative dyno setup in it. We weren't going to take it to the basement to get some huge, super huge torque number. I basically wanted to beat my numbers from last year, have the truck survive, put up, you know, an all right number. But we weren't shooting to win. We wanted to keep things alive and happy. So we got up there, brought the truck up. All right, Cody said we're good to go. Hit the load. I hit the throttle to the floor, hit the bump, or hit the spool jet. And I'll tell you what, this compound setup came right up. I mean, just as fast. I mean, it seemed faster than last year almost. And maybe that's due to some work that our guys at Freedom have done to the engine. Maybe the head flow's a little better. I don't know, but it just came up quick. I grabbed the big kit and all right, you know, like that's it. And afterwards everybody's saying it just doesn't sound right. Something doesn't sound right. And I'm like, well, what does, oh, we changed the rail pressure sensor out. So we put the old one back in it. We're letting it cool down. I'm talking to Chase Fleece. I'm talking to Ryan Milk and Derek Rose. We're all talking about it. And they're just saying it didn't sound right. And so when I kind of, well, what didn't sound right? Ryan Milk and Ferrari Performance said, it sounded like you unplugged an injector. Well, I ran valve lash that morning. So to run valve lash, you have to pull the valve cover, then you have to pull the injector harness / gasket off, and then you can do your valve lash. Well, my first thought is I forgot to tighten that harness, that injector harness. So pull the valve cover, I start checking the injector harness, and while I'm mid doing that, Trevor Peterson goes, dude, what is that? Well, here, number 4 cylinder, the rocker bridge that connects the two intake valves had fallen down, so our rocker arm wasn't doing anything. So effectively, we were running on 5 cylinders. The intake was not opening on number 4. So what had happened is, once again, 100% my fault. When I ran valve lash that morning, I must have gotten distracted or whatever. I never tightened down the adjuster for the push rod and the rocker arm for number 4 intake. So when we started to come up, and the truck sounded great until it hit load hit, and that must have been the perfect amount of vibration for that thing to loosen up and that valve bridge to fall. So we did, I'll get you the exact numbers here. So our exact numbers for that dyno pool was 1,858 horsepower and 2,645 foot-pounds of torque on 5 cylinders. So if you extrapolate that and divide both numbers by 5 and then add that number, which should be what that number 4 cylinder would have put out, it came out to about 2,200 horse and 31, almost 3,200 foot-pound of torque. And I guess just how my mind works, that's just going by what the numbers were. I would think they'd be just a little bit higher than that even, because you'd have a perfectly running engine and all that. So we went from being able to probably make a dyno pool that was significantly better than what we did last year to just making a very terrible mistake and putting down some numbers that I was not happy with at all. We did not beat our torque, we did not beat our horsepower, because we were running on 5 cylinders. 100% my fault, something that I did. Chase Fleece got up there and said, there were some other things that he didn't like in there, and, I decided to call it because it's not worth rushing and trying to, you're supposed to lash valves cold, trying to figure that all out hot just to try and put up a number that at the end of the day was not going to be, something monumental by any means. But I decided, you know what, I screwed up. Let's go back, make sure this thing's healthy, and get ready for the next event. Because you know what? I don't want to hurt this thing at UCC and be done for the year. I'm just getting started. I want to run it, and the drag racing like we did on Friday, that's what I want to do. So if it costs us UCC points or whatever, let's do it. I don't want to hurt it right now. So we backed it off the dyno, drug it back to the pits, pulled everything out, and the only thing we really ended up hurting was one of the push rods was a bit galled up on the edges. So the guys at Freedom got us a new push rod, and we were good to go. Set lash, made sure everything was tight, and got our sled pool set up on. So that was dyno day. Bit of a disappointment. It's 100% my fault. I will own that. That's the kind of thing that happens when you're not under valve cover one of these things for 9 or 10 months. If I was working on these things every day or once a week, it wouldn't happen. Guys who do this for a living, that kind of stuff shouldn't happen to. It shouldn't happen to me either, but it did. I lost that muscle memory from not doing it. So that was dyno day, a bit of a disappointment, but hey, after I cooled down and kind of stopped being mad at myself, me and my team and the guys who stopped over and the people I got to talk to afterwards, we had a blast. So that was Dyno Day for UCC 22. Like I said, bit of a disappointment, is what it is. I'm going to learn from my mistakes, hopefully, and that way that doesn't happen again. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I look forward to the next video for sled pull day, because we were one of, I think, 5 trucks that actually decided to use one truck for all 3 events. And if you guys hadn't seen it on social media, I think we made a little bit of a stir. And anyway, find all about that in the next video, UCC 22 sled pull day. Thank you guys. Please like the video, subscribe down below. I'll catch you guys on the next one, sled pull day.